the week that almost broke me. It took me a while to write this podcast, and because I wanted it to be accurate and I wanted to be authentic with it. But I also wanted to not lose you guys in between with all these little stories that I like to give, and I go off on a tangent sometimes. I hope I said that one right. But here we are, and I like to start by saying that last week was a hard week. Last week was a character building week. Last week was a necessary week. You ever realize when stuff starts happening, it doesn't happen one at a time. It does pull up in groups, like if they had a meeting and they decided that they'll attack on this day and they had like sticky notes on a wall somewhere. That was my character building week. And you know, for the love of it, I'ma call it that. You know, I'ma call it my character building week. Because last week was a hard week. Last week was a character building week. But last week was a necessary week. Let's jump into it. Yeah, so it started small, you know. I had an idea and I was clear on this idea. I was convinced with this idea. I felt really good about it and I had a plan. Then, like most of us do, I went looking for reassurance. I asked ChatGPT for advice, and ChatGPT didn't see it the way I saw it. And here's the thing. Even though it wasn't wrong, I let a second opinion shake something that was already settled in my heart and in my spirit, and it flattened me. It didn't defeat me. You know, I wasn't really angry. I was just flat, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, especially spiritually. And when you're somebody who people depend on, you know, like my kids and stuff, for stability, it hard to get an option to fall apart. You don't really get an option to fall apart. You just have to adjust and carry it. But inside, I was deflated. And hard weeks could be subtle like that. They don't always try to break you. Sometimes they just test your patience and your gangster a bit. I had moments where I felt frustration keeping in. And I could feel my energy shifting. I could feel my head hitting into the wall constantly. It was a constant headache. And then I realized if I wasn't careful, 1 week could turn into how I show up for people who don't deserve that version of me. So I had to change it. And the craziest thing is that it was all my fault. Whole week I blaming God, doubting God's plan, questioning the direction. When we made a plan, you know, we already made a plan. I just went looking for extra clarity because faith is uncomfortable sometimes. I had no thunder, lightning, no voice from the sky, just a quiet conviction. We made a plan. You know, just a quiet. Imagine if David had stopped to ask the crowd if he should fight Goliath or not, how he would have changed his mind. Faith is the evidence of things hoped for. Logic is good. Logic keeps you grounded, but logic alone never built anything extraordinary. And that's a fact. So we had to really differentiate discern logic from faith. Without faith, we would still be cavemen. No inventions, no risk, no records broken. And without faith, it's impossible to please God. So yeah, last week was a hard week. It was a character building week. It was a necessary week. You know, sometimes I feel like we keep waiting for something big to happen, like this big miracle, like we could cross the Red Sea, but we get so used to miracles that we just call it life now. Like all these little things that happen that seem normal aren't really normal. This week was one of those weeks, and this week was near to break me. Hard weeks really expose cracks. They show you where discipline needs tightening and where pride needs softening. And they kind of expose where you lean on your own strength. And that is uncomfortable. Comfort doesn't build character. Pressure does. So if you're having a hard week right now, don't just pray for it to end. You know, don't just pray for it to be over. Ask for discernment. Ask what it's there to build, what it's there to correct, or which muscle is really being strengthened. Because for me, last week was a hard week. It was a character building week, but it was a necessary week. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you guys soon.